So we had to wait for a while for everything to heal up, and we tried again, and now and this time we had Ian, and Aimee became pregnant again with Ian. And what's interesting about this is by this time now I'm bidding my jobs so low because we're self-employed. I'm bidding them so low. I'm making like $3 to $4 an hour by the time all these jobs are done, because everything is going up. Prices are going up, the state taxes are going up, materials are going up, but the wages are staying the same. And so I'm like, I gotta start creating some income. So I started kind of undercutting some jobs, because it was just me and big groups of one anyways. I didn't have any employees, nothing of that nature, because I had to let them go, at the downturn of the economy. And so we're starting to make some money, or at least starting to get something into where we can pay our bill. And so then Aimee became pregnant with Ian, and we're just starting to come up on the curve. And then I landed this one project. It was the project from hell. These people, Lord, it just made me start drinking thinking about this job. It was just, these people drove me crazy. And that was the only job out of my 12 years of self-employment, that was the only job I've ever walked away from, because it was so bad. These people were so bad. But I also had a 8-month pregnant wife at home that was pounding me as well, because everything's all, she's all emotional. I mean, all these chemicals and all this stuff in her body from this little one that she's carrying, so I'm like, well, I sleep with her, not with you, so I have to make a decision, and I'm going to go this way. And so I cut those people off and went home. But throughout this whole time, we're still dealing with my pituitary tumor, because when Aimee was pregnant with Ian, I had my second surgery on it, which is gamma knife radiation, which is where they screw the rack onto your head, and everywhere you go, they have to lock you in place, and that was painful. And when I was sitting in that chair during that gamma knife radiation, waiting to go in, and they screwed the rack on, when they were putting the rack on my head, the nurse was like, "You need to breathe. You have to breathe." And after they put the rack on, she was telling me, she's like, "You have an extremely high tolerance for pain." Because most people, when they see that rack coming down, they're screaming, because they know what's coming. She's like, "I just had to tell you to breathe." And I was like, well, I'm a painter, and this is what I do. I've fallen off of ladders and roofs and all that stuff, and there's no time for pain. You got to get back up, and you got to get in the game, because you're in big groups of one, and you got a family to support and feed, and you got bills to pay. I mean, there's no time to sit down and play Xbox and heal up. There's no time for that. But so sitting there with that rack on my head, what came to my mind was on how Jesus died on the cross for us, especially with the crown of thorns that was put on his head. Now I understand that the crown of thorns is not is the imaginable pain, but just having a rack screwed on my head gave me just enough of an idea of what it must have been like. And I wish, and sometimes I kind of wish people would put themselves in somebody else's shoes of either the pain that they're going through or something that they're dealing with, because I think it would help them to get a better perspective of what is going on. As a Christian, the Lord really brought us through, and brewing beer was like my escape. And that was when, there's times I'd go in my garage and I'd put on some gospel music or some what I call praise and worship music and brew beer and just detox from the pressure that was going on. And that was my saving grace. I mean, brewing was my saving grace in that aspect, because it It allowed me to forget. I mean, you shouldn't forget the issues that you're dealing with. I'm a firm believer of you should face your giants and conquer them. But there's times where you just need some downtime. You need downtime to just to rest your head. What's interesting about it is that in November we have No Shave November, and I think it's Pines for Prostate. I think is another thing for male prostate, which is fine. But we never discussed about male infertility. That is something that we as men in general don't discuss because we don't know. I mean, when we plant a seed in our wife, we don't know if we are clear juices or not. And a lot of times, if your wife is healthy and you're trying to make a baby, 4 times a week and nothing's happening, you need to go get checked out because you could be infertile. And my thought is, who do I go to talk about this male infertility besides going to a clinic and talking to some doctor? But friendships in general, who do I go to? Who do I discuss about this male infertility issue? And guys, they're like, well, you need to have me show you how it's done, kind of thing. I mean, we razz each other like that. But in all actuality, I mean, when push comes to shove, who do you go to? But there's got to be a way on how men can start talking to one another about male infertility in general. Because it's because with men, we like to provide. We're providers. That's what we do. We're providers. Whether what we're doing, we want to kill something and we want to bring it home because that's what we do. That's what we like to do. And it has nothing to do with male dominance or anything else of that nature. It's just we like to be productive. And when you can't be productive in either area, it's challenging. A lot of men don't talk. They don't talk about their emotions. They don't talk about their feelings. They keep it inside. And what's interesting about all of that is now you're dealing with a guy that doesn't know how to communicate because they're physical, so they'll go into like a rage, or they'll break stuff, or they're hammering on something, or they get abusive because they don't know how to talk about it. As a matter of fact, the suicide rate for men is in the middle of their lives, is the highest rate for men to put a gun to their mouth and pull the trigger because they don't know how to get out of it besides killing themselves because they don't know how to talk about it. And I would like, if there was a way for me to help bring it to light, I would do it because I know how important it is.